playing this game, one of the first things that I noticed is that the swimming seems slower than it did in the original, and a little worried that it's taking a little too much from the old mobile ports, because in those versions the swimming was nerfed as well. So when you do the triathlon challenges, I would imagine that you're going to fall far behind. As far as San Andreas goes, it does look a lot better. A longer draw distance, not even just with the environment. With the environment, you can see all the way to the other side of the map, which is kind of weird. You would think that they would add some type of fog or cloud effects, at least far away, so you don't see from one corner to the other, and I think this game needed it. The map is fine. When you're in the cities, you can't really see that far ahead of you. When you go into the countryside or the desert, the draw distance actually increases because there's less geometry on the screen. Where it really needed the upgrade was the dynamic objects like pedestrians and cars. On the PS2 version, cars would spawn about 100 feet in front of you, and the highway traffic, it was just bugged in that game. With cars just flying left and right into you, you only have a split second to react, they turn at the last moment, and it makes driving very tedious, to say the least. However, a lot of people miss having that bugged out traffic, because if you block the road, it would cause a whole ton of chaos, which is cool and all, but practicality wise, as far as being able to drive onto the highway at low speed and not get slammed into the water or something by a bugged out traffic AI, that's something that I appreciate. And the driving itself is actually something that I've been enjoying too, because the cars feel like they have a little more weight to them. Physics in 5 are not terrible, they're not bad, but it's very arcadey and cartoony. Like if you crash into a car and you both come to a complete stop, you can't push any cars out of your way. You can try all you want, the car will stay there like it's made of infinite mass, and you can't push it. Even if you had a giant truck, like a dump truck, and you're trying to push a small car, it won't go anywhere. They boasted a full turn-by-turn navigation system, which is there, and it's very useful compared to the original. You could set waypoints, but it wasn't turn-by-turn navigation. That just wasn't a thing. And here we have it in all 3 games. Another thing that they changed in this version is they implemented the weapon wheel from 5 on both your gun inventory and your radio stations. Another thing that they added from 5 is if you hit down on the controller, it actually zooms the radar out so you can see more of the map without having to go to the pause menu. Whenever you use a specialty vehicle that has tools on it, like a bulldozer or a forklift, in the original game, you had analog control, where in this version, you just tap a button and either you can have it all the way up or all the way down, which I guess is convenient, but kind of sucks. They gave the game analog gas and brake controls, so instead of having to full throttle slow down if you're tailing somebody or whatever, you could just, quarter of the way press or halfway press on the trigger. When it's raining out, you can ease your way, you can walk into the power, so you can take off quickly without the car just spinning tires in place. And being that there's analog brake controls, anytime you get into a front-wheel drive car in this game, you can actually trail brake. In the original game, you had square and X if you're on PlayStation, and those are digital controls. Either you have the gas and brake fully depressed or it's not pressed at all. You can toggle between modes where you can use your camera or you can turn on the adjustment for the hydraulics. So in the original game, if you install hydraulics on a car, any car, you're sacrificing your free camera. You can't move left and right with the camera unless you hit the triggers to look either 9 degrees left or 9 degrees right. But in this version, they changed that. You can hold up on the directional pad and it will change modes between using the camera and using hydraulics. The gunplay in these 3 games are okay. You have the level up system where you can reach Hitman and dual wield weapons. But not only that, you're given the option to strafe once you get better with each gun. So it's not too bad. GTA was never really known for its robust gunplay. However, you're allowed to adjust the look around sensitivity and the aiming sensitivity, so you can adjust it to your liking. Frame rate issues as far as this game is concerned. When you go really fast, you start noticing that the game will slow down a little bit. You will get a little bit of slowdown here and there. It also depends on where you are on the map. The gym is weird in this game. In the original, you would tap X and circle to lift the weight equally among both hands. It was kind of like a way of controlling both your hands all the way up through the motion. But in this game, they completely changed it. Now you just have a single button press, but you have to time it when the bar gets to the bottom every other time you do it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. The problem with it is that in the original game, you could challenge yourself. If CJ's really skinny, he can't lift 320 pounds like he's doing here. because the higher you go in weight, the more you have to tap the living hell out of those buttons to get the weight up. So it kind of took away the challenge of seeing how much weight you can lift, how fast you can tap the buttons. Now it's just a single button press. Punching bags don't move in this version. They're just solid stationary objects now. The dancing minigame and the lowrider challenge is weird. They replaced the 4 action buttons, which is square, triangle, circle, and X. They replaced it with directional controls where you hit left, up, right, and down. The dancing's not as bad, but the lowrider challenge, as you'll see right here, the first song is ridiculous. There is literally no bouncing at all. It's like missing rhythms that you would normally press buttons on to get the car to, actually bounce. The first song requires no bouncing at all. So you're just sitting there and the car barely moves. In the original, you actually bounce the car back and forth. You have to time it perfectly, otherwise the car could flip over. The pedestrians in this game have color palette swaps, which is cool as far as variation, but it threw me off when I first saw it. The dude that walks around with the orange jacket, the orange track suit, I've seen him spawn in green, purple, blue, yellow. He spawns in every color now. And sometimes he has the hat, and sometimes he doesn't have a hat, and he's just bald-headed. With the draw distance, it makes parachuting, which was first introduced in this game, very enjoyable. The flying is very enjoyable as well. However, I noticed that they changed the camera a little bit. You can only move the camera left and right, and it snaps back into place almost instantly. You can only move left and right. You cannot move up and down on the camera. They disabled up and down for whatever reason. Interesting thing that they implemented in this game is the checkpoint system in missions. Part of the original feel, if you start a mission, that's it. And if you fail or die on the mission, you will respawn either at the police station, hospital, whatever, but you wouldn't have any weapons. So you would have to not only collect your weapons again, or whatever you want to bring with you as far as firepower, but you would also have to go back to where the mission started and start all over again. Kind of takes away from the urgency to not fail a mission. You don't have to use square and circle to pan the camera in order to do a drive-by. You can use the free camera, or you can just pull up alongside someone on the right side and just hit the button by itself and he'll automatically shoot out the left window. The rain in this game looks okay, I guess. The one thing I've noticed is that it creates a uniform grid pattern on the ground that's easily noticeable. It has this white effect to it. It kind of looks like snow. But when you're flying in a plane, you can make the rain completely stop or change direction. As far as being able to view your stats, in the original game you had to hit, I think, either L1 or R1, but in this one, it's just left on the D-pad. You have to hold it, and it kind of has this cool effect where a ring will appear around your weapon slot, and it'll pop up. So I go to the strip club like the gentleman that I am. I walk in, and I'm greeted with absolutely no music at all. It's the weirdest thing. I guess it has some cut soundtracks from the game, and I'll provide a list right here of all the songs that were cut. When you walk up to a store or a building, you can kind of actually see inside of it. It kind of has a low-res interior, and at night when you drive up to it with your headlights on, you can see a perfect reflection of your headlight. The developers in the original game marked the geographical center of the map with a stick, but in this version, it's just a little red corona. I don't know, that's odd. It does nothing when you walk inside of it. I thought maybe something would happen, or it would give you a message saying, hey, dummy, you're in the center of the map. But no. Well, this game now officially has a ghost bridge. Yep. The bridge you normally take to go across the river disappears in and out of reality, as you can see here. And, wow. In the original PS2 game, there would be a NPC that would spawn right here with a camera. Usually it's a photographer. And if you watch what they're doing, they just take a picture of Los Santos across the bay, and then they walk into the water and they drown. They literally just commit suicide. Catalina looks kind of weird in the face in this game, but her player model is not too bad compared to others that I saw. The vegetation in this game actually has somewhat of an upgrade. You can walk past it and it'll interact with you. It's very subtle, but it's there. A lot of spots I've noticed, they didn't put any vegetation to the environment at all. And of course I had to put myself through the 0 missions once again. These are hands down the most pain in the ass missions throughout the whole game. I actually failed the mission the first time I did it for no other reason than Zero dying because a plane landed on top of him and exploded. But I was able to pass this mission like a G the second time around. And the other 2 missions were not as bad. However, when you're flying the Red Baron to destroy the vans, for some reason I had the hardest time flying the RC plane. And I don't know if it's just me trying to get used to the controls, or if the plane has some really wobbly physics to it. It has a tendency to want to wobble back and forth, and it makes it that much harder to take off without hitting a light pole or something. The last Zero mission in the string is, I think it's called New Model Army or something like that. Pretty much have to use a helicopter RC to pick up things with a magnet, such as bridges and bombs. And you gotta either fill in voids where there should be a bridge, or you have to drop bombs on tanks that are shooting at the RC car that you're trying to defend all the way to the other side. And once you figure out how the mission works, it really isn't that bad as long as you have patience. During this playthrough, I'm convinced the valet system that once used to be in this game is now broken. I played 555 Wheat Tip, the mission in San Fierro. You have to take a DA's vehicle and fit it with marijuana and then bring it back in order to frame him. But in order to do this, you have to follow a valet into the garage while they're parking a car, steal his outfit by beating him up, and then take the car back up to the surface and wait. Get in the car, drive it to the shop in Doherty, fit it with marijuana, and then you come back. I noticed that while you're waiting, there's no other valets along with you to compete with. And there's 2 other valets normally, or 3 other valets that will try to get to the car quicker than you. So that's completely cut from this. I was sitting outside the hotel waiting by myself for a car to pull up. And I'll show this too. The traffic just kept plowing into each other because without me being the only valet there, the people that parked their car will leave it in the middle of the driveway, and then with no one moving it, other cars come by and just plow right into it. Torino's last flight was always a challenging mission, but that's only if you don't have the RPG or Heat Seeker. Normally you can shoot him down before he makes that first corner around the building right after he takes off. But if you don't have that, the mission supplies you with an RPG and an AK-47. You have to drive all the way to the San Fierro freeway and wait for the chopper to be up with you, because that's the path that it takes. You really have to time the RPG shots accurately. And in this game, it feels a little bit difficult compared to the original. I don't know, maybe it's just my depth perception. Another issue I want to go over is the pause menu responsiveness. It's really not as responsive as I would hope. In Vice City, you're able to get out the car and run away instantly with the door open. And this game, for whatever reason, I don't know why, when you get out the car, you cannot instantly run away from it the minute you jump out of it. You have to wait for him to get out of the car completely and then close the door before he can run. In Vice City, you don't have to do that. However, you can still drive off at the moment you get into a car without having to close the door, just not outside of it for some reason. And then this happened. I have no idea. It's pretty funny, because he throws you a sword and you think you're gonna go for this giant fight, but like you pretty much end it in 2 seconds. I always have enjoyment out of that. I wish they would have made him, have a bigger health bar so you can sword fight with him for like 3 minutes, but no. What is this? Oh man, you can see underneath the map from here. Oh boy, that's bad. One gigantic problem I noticed when I was in San Fierro, when you get a paint job, which puts sort of like a livery on the car, if you do that and then change the color of it, as you can see here, the bumpers, body kit, spoiler, it all remains the same color as the paint job originally was the first time. That makes me question whether or not they had a QA team to sort through this bullshit, or if they even tested the game at all. But it gets even better. When you go into the casino, the 4 Dragons, first thing you'll notice, there's no music at all. That's ridiculous. There's a vehicle in the center that you can't even get into, so it's not even worth it. You go to the machines, and you start gambling. Not only is there no music at all, you hear NPCs screaming and running away with no threat around you. I didn't even fire my gun or attack anyone. I was just minding my own business playing video poker, and all I heard was footsteps of people running and just screaming over and over again with no music. It was the weirdest, unsettling feeling I've ever had. I can't believe they had the audacity to call this the definitive edition when they cut stuff out of it. Rockstar is a billion-dollar company, and they couldn't even renew the music licenses so they could have the original soundtrack in this game. That kills me. So when you go into the casino, it used to play like 6 songs from Master Sounds. Now it's just dead silence. There's no funky president, none of that. They took it out. It would be somewhat palatable if the NPCs didn't bug out and run away and scream every 2 seconds while I'm trying to bet at a table or a video poker machine or the slots. Seriously, it's a big issue. What type of person would I be if I didn't go into crippling debt from gambling during my playthrough? Yeah, in this game you can actually go into debt and owe the casino money, and if you walk out, you'll get some phone calls, and then you'll get goons coming after you to talk about your debts, of course. The more money you owe, the more vicious they are when they try to hunt you down and kill you. And you can pay it back by killing the goons that come after you. They drop a large amount of money, or you can just do missions if you have any left to try to get yourself back onto the green side. Oh, okay, you know what? Maybe it is worth it. Nah. So before I summarize this whole mess of a remaster, I have one more thing to say. When you're in the desert, usually around 4 o'clock on the PS2 version, the sky will have this cool purple atmosphere, like this orange and purple skies. They took that out of this game, and I noticed it when I was parachuting in the desert around that time. A lot more stars and whatnot, so depending on who you ask, they might like it better. I like both, but in the original, the game looked great from an artistic standpoint. I could understand why the atmosphere and sky colors and changed from city to city, because you can see all the way across the map. It wouldn't make any type of sense because of the draw distance, but it kind of sucks that they took that out, you know? It's just, I'm not used to it. Maybe I just don't like change. To summarize all this up, do I think it's worth buying this game? No, not at full price. Absolutely not. Some of the character models look absolutely bugged out. The skeleton looks crazy. The way Rockstar went about this, it came after modders, and then they deleted the original versions, and then replaced it with this definitive version before anyone even got a chance to play the game or look at it. So, I don't know, that's pretty shady no matter what. And for the price point, there's people that have done better with mods, better than the developers have. So do I think this is worth it for $60? No, I would wait until it's about half off, if that. I have enjoyed them. I don't think they're absolutely terrible. It's not the worst thing I've ever played. I think people were kind of overblowing some of it. There's so much they could have done. It seems rushed to me a little bit. It definitely seems rushed. Definitely seems like it needed more time in the oven. I understand that they could patch most of this out, but I think it goes beyond patching. They're gonna have to really put some effort into this, and the effort is something I think they're not even gonna bother with. Interesting thing about the PC port is that they pulled it down not just for hot coffee, but because Grocery Games apparently left developer notes and the cut songs in the files. They just turned it off so it wouldn't be on during gameplay. And because of this, they pulled some shady practices where they pulled the game away from customers, so they bought it and they can't get any refunds nor play the game. That's a disaster. When I've seen modders do better on PC, it kind of makes it really hard to justify paying $63 for this. That's what I paid with taxes. In North America, Northeast, it's about $63 with tax. That's the total. I would definitely wait. Some people just don't have the time to put mods into their games or even mess around on PC. They just want something that can sit in the living room and turn on with a controller wherever they want. I get it. There's some things about it that seem rushed, and I would wait till it's half price. But even then, it pisses me off that they took the original versions off of the PlayStation Store and PC. I don't know if they did it with Xbox, but I'm sure they did. But I don't know how you're going to be able to play the game unless you already downloaded it before they took it off. You're going to have to, I don't recommend pirating, but I mean, Rockstar is really bringing it upon themselves with this stuff. They did the same thing about 10 years ago when they released the mobile ports, which were supposedly remastered. They were garbage. They pulled it from the shelf. They're doing the exact same thing here, which I don't admire at all. But at the end of the day, there's good things about it, and there's definitely bad things about it. The first day it dropped, GTA 3 Portland, where that tunnel entrance is, if you drive on the ground above the tunnel next to it, you will fall through the ground and reappear on the road right next to the tunnel. I mean, that's terrible. It makes you think that they didn't even spend their time at all playing the game to test to see if it was ready to be pushed out the way it was. I don't know. It's crazy to me. But that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks.